Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into a story that really makes you think about what home truly means. It's about dreams, reality, and those invisible walls we sometimes build around ourselves. Our story begins with Lana, though in America everyone called her Lana. If you looked at her living room wall, you'd see a picture-perfect scene. Lana, radiant in a white dress, a blue sky, and a handsome husband with kind eyes. This photo, taken 7 years ago in sunny California, told a story of a beautiful couple, a happy life. And whenever neighbors would comment on how lovely they were together, Lana would just smile, nod, and thank them. But what no one saw was a secret tucked behind that frame. Taped to the back was a smaller, faded photograph. It was Lana and her mother, standing proudly in front of their humble house by a river in Vietnam. The air in that picture practically smelled of rain and jasmine. Her mother's hand rested on her shoulder, warm and trembling with pride. That image, that feeling, was the last time they stood together like that. It was a tangible piece of a life she'd left behind, a life that called to her from a place far, far away. You see, Lana met Daniel online. He was an American man, kind, stable, and gentle. He even liked pho and tried to say "Xin Chao" with an accent that made her giggle. He wasn't rich, but he promised to take care of her, and she believed him. She was 30, full of hope, and when she first arrived in the US, she truly believed this was the start of her fairy tale. Her visa said spouse, but in her heart she saw new life. Daniel worked in tech, always busy, always focused. He wanted a family eventually, but he also cherished his structure, his routine, his quiet. Lana, on the other hand, loved noise. She missed mornings filled with the smell of garlic and fish sauce, neighbors shouting greetings across their gates. But in America, mornings were different. They were quiet. Too quiet. She quickly learned that silence here was considered polite, and so she too became polite. She learned to quiet her laughter, to soften her steps, to mute the vibrant sounds of her heritage, all in the name of fitting in. Their house was beautiful. A 2-story dream with glass walls and a garden that looked straight out of a magazine. Lana cleaned it meticulously every single day, vacuuming until her reflection stared back at her from the marble floors. But that reflection haunted her. It showed a woman who looked happy, perfectly put together, but whose eyes no longer held the same light, the same spark. They no longer felt like her own. When Daniel came home, he'd kiss her cheek, a soft, familiar gesture. "How was your day?" he'd ask. "Good," she'd reply. Always good, never the truth. Because the truth, she felt, was too heavy, too complicated for dinner conversation. It was a truth that whispered of a growing emptiness, a life that looked perfect on the outside, but felt hollow within. She tried, she really did. She tried to make friends. With Daniel's co-workers' wives at barbecues and book clubs, they were kind, yes, but also distant. Their conversations revolved around diets, real estate, and yoga retreats. Lana would smile, nod, and say very little. Her English was good, but her jokes never quite landed, and her laughter often came a beat too late. There was a cultural chasm, a subtle disconnect that she couldn't quite bridge. They'd often say, "You're so lucky Daniel married you. He's such a good man." That word, lucky, began to taste like rust in her mouth. Was she lucky? She lived in a house most people in her hometown could only dream of, a life of comfort and apparent ease. But she had no one to truly talk to, no one who understood why sometimes, for no discernible reason, she would simply cry. She was surrounded by plenty, yet felt profoundly alone. At night, after Daniel had fallen asleep, she would slip into the kitchen. There in the dim light, she'd open her phone and scroll through YouTube channels of Vietnamese vloggers. She'd watch people cooking, gossiping, arguing, laughing, the everyday sounds of her homeland. She'd play the videos softly, just to hear the rhythm of her mother tongue, the familiar cadence of voices that understood her without her having to explain. Sometimes she'd even whisper back, as if they could hear her across the vast ocean, connecting her to a world she desperately missed. 2 more years slipped by. Her English improved, but the distance between her and Daniel only grew wider. She learned to cook pasta, steak, even a Thanksgiving turkey, mastering the American culinary landscape. But he never once asked for her favorite dishes, never inquired about the flavors of her childhood. One evening, she decided to make kan chua, the sour fish soup her mother used to make, a dish bursting with the flavors of home. Daniel tasted it, smiled politely and said, "Interesting flavor?" He didn't touch the bowl again. Lana smiled back, said, "It's okay," and quietly, after he left the table, poured it down the sink. That night she lay awake, a profound sadness washing over her, and whispered to herself in Vietnamese, "Ma oi, con sai roi." Mom, I was wrong. The realization hit her with the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. Then one winter, a small miracle happened. Her mother finally got a tourist visa. 3 months, that was all. When her mother arrived, the house was filled with noise again. Vietnamese radio played softly, pots clanged in the kitchen, and her mother's morning prayers filled the air. For the first time in years, Lana felt truly alive, truly herself. It was as if a dormant part of her soul had reawakened. But Daniel grew restless. "I need my quiet, Lana," he'd say. "It's too much." Lana tried to explain, tried to translate the warmth of her mother's chatter, the comfort of her familiar presence. But English, she found, couldn't carry that kind of love, that deep cultural resonance. So she said nothing. Her mother, with a lifetime of wisdom in her eyes, noticed the distance, the subtle coldness, the politeness that bordered on indifference. On her last night before flying home, she held Lan's hands and softly asked in Vietnamese, "Con song trong na jep, nung sao mat con kong ton sang nua?" "You live in a beautiful house, but why are your eyes no longer bright?" Lana smiled weakly, tears welling up. She didn't know how to answer, didn't know how to articulate the suffocating silence she lived with. After her mother left, the house became quiet again. But this time, it was unbearable. The silence was a physical weight, pressing down on her. Lana started talking to herself, in Vietnamese, in English, sometimes a mix of both. She talked to the plants, to her reflection, to the framed wedding photograph on the wall. Her carefully constructed facade was cracking. One night, Daniel came home late and found her sitting on the floor, the TV on but silent, the wedding photo clutched in her lap. He knelt down, confusion etched on his face. "Lana, what's wrong?" She looked up, tears streaking her face, and whispered, "You love me, but you don't see me." Daniel froze. For once, the silence between them wasn't polite. It was devastating, heavy with unspoken truths and years of emotional distance. A month later, she moved out. Daniel didn't stop her, not out of cruelty, but out of a profound confusion. He simply didn't know how to reach her anymore, couldn't bridge the gap that had grown so wide. She rented a small apartment on the edge of town. No garden, no glass walls, just beige carpet and old furniture. But for the first time in a very long time, she could breathe. The air felt lighter, the silence, a choice. She started sewing clothes for local Vietnamese brides. Simple dresses, delicate lace, quiet beauty in every stitch. Each stitch was a small act of rebellion, a declaration, a way of saying, "I exist, I am here, this is me." She was reclaiming her voice, her identity, one delicate thread at a time. Months later, she wrote her mother a letter. It read, "Mom, I understand now. In America, people talk a lot about freedom, but I've learned that freedom doesn't always mean happiness. You can open your window and see the whole world, but if no one hears you calling, it's still just a cage made of glass." Lana's story is a powerful reminder that true happiness isn't always found in material comfort or what looks perfect on the outside. It's about being seen, being heard, and finding a place where you truly belong, where your spirit can shine. It's about having the courage to break free from the glass walls that keep us from our authentic selves. What a powerful journey, right? I hope Lana's story resonated with you. It really makes you think about what kind of walls might be around us and how we can find our own freedom and voice. If you found this story thought-provoking, please hit that like button, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into life's incredible lessons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.